T-minus 10, 9, 8.
On World News Tonight, this Thursday, John Glenn rockets back into history.
3, 2, 1, Godspeed, John Glenn.
And liftoff of Discovery with a crew of 6 astronaut heroes and 1 American legend.
The most anticipated space flight in years. Tonight, the moment and the mission.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. John Glenn is neither the first politician to fly in space nor the first former astronaut to make a comeback. But Glenn made it more exciting today. It wasn't the first time that people had driven down to the Cape and stand on the beach to watch. The shuttle's been up 91 times before. But a lot of people were there today because Glenn was going to fly. That's why the President and Mrs. Clinton were there. And while we have not yet seen John Glenn in space tonight, we know he's up there because we've heard him, as well as his commander. Here are some excerpts.
Boy, enjoying the show is right. This is beautiful. The best part is do a trite old statement, 0G, and I feel fine. I don't know what happens on down the line, but today is beautiful and great, and Hawaii is just, I just can't even describe it. And Beamer, let the record show that that John has a smile on his face, and it goes from one ear to the other one, and we haven't been able to remove it yet.
Probably stay that way for 9 days. So let's go to the Cape now, Cape Canaveral, and pick it up with ABC's Morton Dean.
As he went through his pre-launch routine today, Glenn seemed as unruffled and at ease as he was on that morning 36 years ago. He repeatedly smiled his best smile and gave his best combat pilot's thumbs up, proving that the right stuff ages well. When he made that first trip, the oldest of his Discovery crewmates was only 9. One wasn't even born yet. Glenn easily squirmed into the middle seat on the shuttle's mid-deck for today's ride into space.
Welcome aboard, John Glenn. Roger, thank you much.
There were several delays today.
Receiving information, there are aircraft in the area.
Minor problems, including a small plane violating the shuttle's airspace. For John Glenn, another 19 minutes was no big deal.
And liftoff of Discovery.
In a place where there have been many emotional highs, this ranked among the highest. Thanks to the Glenn factor, no one was untouched. Not the people at the Space Center. Not the President and the First Lady who watched from a rooftop here. Not the tens of thousands of residents and tourists who gathered for miles around.
We saw him the other time, and this time was just fabulous to know that he was that old and could still do this.
But the launch was not perfect. What appears to be a panel was jarred loose and may have hit one of the 3 main engines. The panel is believed to cover where a drag chute is housed, a chute used when the shuttle lands. NASA said late today the mission would not be affected, but that the problem will be studied further. However, it would take a lot more than that to diminish the echoes of Godspeed, John Glenn, that were still being heard here. Morton Dean, ABC News, Kennedy Space Center, Florida.
We heard the event described in a number of ways today, described it ourselves pretty enthusiastically. John Glenn taking a victory lap, said one person. It was like Woodstock for old people, someone else said. More than 3,500 journalists from around the world were on hand for the launch. And sure, more people had their eye on the Cape today than any time in a long time. Here's ABC's Aaron Brown.
9, 8. It has been a long time since so many Americans of every age, young and old, from New York to LA, held their breath, crossed their fingers, said a prayer, and watched the marvel that is manned space flight.
I think it's great. You know, a guy this old going up there, doing it again, showing everybody what it's like. It's fantastic.
It brought tears to my eyes. I thought it was absolutely wonderful because I have a father his age, and to have the opportunity for him to go back up into space, I think it's wonderful.
That wonderment could be seen and heard in the words of children.
Ever since very brave to go up in the moon.
Many watched in school, some named after another astronaut, Krista McAuliffe, who died in the Challenger 12 years and 66 manned flights ago.
I was
just thrilled seeing it. I think he's going to be an American patriot. Yeah. I want to be just like him, that's why.
If you were older, it was a flashback.
John Glenn kind of represents a hero for the country and a role model for our kids. He did to me.
So much technology could have been lost without NASA, you know, being rekindled, if you will, because of John Glenn.
And a chance to dream.
Well, John's just a little bit older than I am, and I'd be glad to trade places with him.
Well, I had always said that I wanted to be the first doctor on the moon to deliver a baby.
Yes, there were skeptics.
I do feel that NASA did a great job of marketing John Glenn to further their cause and get in the pockets of all Americans.
But mostly we heard this.
When I saw the whole crowd here clapping, I was clapping along with them. Everybody's one for one moment.
Which was very much the feeling 36 years and 120 manned space flights ago. Aaron Brown, ABC News, New York.
Marketing and science, patriotism and politics, yes, all of that. And you can follow the mission minute by minute on our website, abcnews.com, on the internet, or through America Online. There are links there to all kinds of information. Other news on this broadcast when we come back. Overseas today, a deadly test and a fast response. Big impact on the Middle East peace agreement, we'll see. And later on, the next generation of television. So much to see and so much to pay. So we'll take a closer look.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Boeing.
In the Middle East today, violence clearly aimed at upsetting the recent Israeli-Palestinian peace agreement. It was early this morning in Gaza. Here's ABC's Gillian Finley.
It could so easily have been so much worse. Israeli police say the suicide bomber who drove into this army jeep was aiming for a school bus carrying 40 Israeli children. When the car exploded, none of the children was injured. One Israeli soldier was dead. It's the Palestinian Authority which controls most of Gaza, and tonight hardline Israelis once again called on their prime minister to cancel the peace agreement. Benjamin Netanyahu, however, would only go so far as to repeat his claim that it's the Palestinians who are now responsible for its fate.
This is the test now of the agreement, and we want to see that test passed successfully by the Palestinian Authority.
In fact, the Palestinian response was swift and comprehensive. Police in Gaza detained dozens of Hamas leaders and activists, the biggest crackdown in years. Even the movement's elderly spiritual leader, Sheikh Ahmed Yassin, was put under house arrest. And so tonight, Hamas, the most dangerous of Palestinian extremist groups, again finds itself facing two enemies: Israel, which it calls an occupier, and the Palestinian Authority, which it increasingly sees as a collaborator. Gillian Finley, ABC News, Jerusalem.
In South Africa today, the truth about truth and reconciliation. For more than 2 years now, South Africans have been investigating the abuses of their past. A commission led by Archbishop Desmond Tutu has heard horror stories from white racists bent on maintaining white power, and from blacks who often committed violence in their struggle to be free. ABC's Sheila McVicker tonight on the final report.
It was supposed to bring reconciliation. Instead, the publication of the truth about South Africa's past has brought more division. The African National Congress, which led the struggle against white minority government, never expected to be equated in any way with the crimes of the old regime.
And that, in our own view, is criminalizing a legitimate people's war and people's struggles.
Archbishop Desmond Tutu ran the commission, listening to tales of horror and grief. Sometimes he simply wept. He pleaded with Winnie Mandela, a heroine of the struggle, to apologize for her crimes when she was accused of sanctioning murder.
I beg you, please.
She was one of those named today. But most of those named are the former members of the white regime and their allies who have been brought face to face with their victims.
What kind of man are you? What kind of man is that?
Archbishop Tutu gave his report to South African President Nelson Mandela today.
I accept the report as it is, with all its imperfections, to help reconcile and build our nation.
In spite of the show of harmony, reconciliation in South Africa is clearly still a work in progress. Sheila McVicker, ABC News.
In Canada today, investigators say they have found heat-damaged wiring in the area near the cockpit of the Swissair flight that went down last month off Nova Scotia. Some of the wiring is from the in-flight entertainment system. And as a precautionary measure, Swissair has disconnected the systems on its other planes that have it. Couple of items today about health. In Washington, as expected, the Food and Drug Administration has approved the drug tamoxifen as a way to prevent breast cancer in women who have a very high risk of it. And for the first time, scientists have evidence that adults can continue to grow brain cells even late in life. Until now, it was thought that brain cells lost as an adult were gone forever. When we come back, the 98 vote, senators looking for another term. Does it even matter this time that they are women? In politics today, the election is only 5 days away. The Democrats released 2 new television ads. They are intent on answering the Republican ads of yesterday, drawing attention to the president's affair with Monica Lewinsky and his lies about it. In their ads today, the Democrats say that they care about the issues. 3 Democratic incumbents face a tough fight this election. They all burst onto the political scene the same year, the year of the woman. Now, 6 years later, each senator has her own individual struggle. Here's ABC's Linda Douglas.
They are members of a historic sorority, swept into the Senate together 6 years ago.
Professor, do you swear to tell the whole truth?
Back then, the country had just witnessed the spectacle of Anita Hill trying to convince an all-male committee of senators that she had been sexually harassed. Women candidates and women voters rose up.
The Senate has its way of doing things.
It's time to shake that place up. It was called the Year of the Woman. But this time around, things have changed.
The Year of the Woman has turned into the Year of the Woman target.
No longer are the women fresh faces. They are incumbents with all of the baggage that brings.
I ask unanimous consent.
In Washington, Senator Patty Murray fought for more teachers by working with Democratic leaders. So her opponent, Linda Smith, calls her one of the good old boys.
Patty Murray followed the most liberal Democrats every time.
Like male incumbents, all of the women are being attacked on their records.
I'm Carol Mosley Braun. I know I've made mistakes and disappointed some people.
Illinois' Carol Mosley Braun faced questions about her finances and got in trouble over her visits to the dictator of Nigeria. Her opponent, millionaire Peter Fitzgerald, now leads in the polls. First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton was called to the rescue.
I want every woman who voted for Carol the last time to think very, very hard about what is at stake.
But Mrs. Clinton's husband has not made things easy for Democratic women candidates, particularly California's Barbara Boxer, who is related to the Clintons by marriage. Boxer has a record of demanding punishment when Republicans are accused of sexual harassment, but she has tried to minimize the president's sex scandal.
My opinion is it is time to move on.
Her opponent accuses her of having a double standard.
But your hypocrisy at the way you just presented yourself is ear-splitting.
This year, just being a woman isn't enough to win women's votes. Now, candidates both male and female are competing on several issues that matter to women, like education and health care.
Nice to see you. How you doing?
The agenda has moved beyond women's rights. Even conservative male senators claim they have been sensitized to women's concerns.
Thanks to Senator Locke Fairclough's breast cancer stamp, we now have a chance to make a real difference.
The 3 women senators see that as a triumph. They say, but for them, those issues would not be on the front burner.
I think the debate changes and we have forced some votes.
Being in the room makes a difference, and having a woman in the room makes a difference in the kind of discussion that takes place.
They are hoping women will believe that in the Year of the Woman Senators in Trouble. Linda Douglas, ABC News, Chicago.
5 days, as we said. On the money tonight, a shortage of workers is forcing companies to pay more. The government says that wages and benefits are up 3.7% in the past year. On Wall Street today, a lot of market stimulation from the managers of mutual funds. They bought a lot of big-name blue-chip stocks today, and the Dow Jones went up more than 123 points to close at 84.95. On the NASDAQ market, stocks were up 19. Consumer products in the news. Saturn by GM is about to introduce the first modern 3-door car. That is to say, 2 on one side and 1 on the other. And in Japan, the poor economy has not reduced the appetite for brand name luxury goods. Tiffany's sales in Japan were up more than 20% in the first 6 months of the year. On the subject of luxury goods, when we come back, a closer look at digital television. Will a clearer picture be worth the cost? Tonight we're going to take a closer look at the future of television. At the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum in Washington and in several other cities around the country today, hundreds of people got a much sharper look at John Glenn's launch. They were watching on high-definition television, HD TV. The Japanese were on hand for the launch to do today with HD TV. This was a special broadcast today, but starting this weekend, for the first time, television stations in the country's largest cities will begin transmitting digital programming specifically designed for HD TV. Is it a worthwhile experiment? First, the technology. Here's ABC's Gina Smith.
Clearer pictures.
You feel as if you're actually in the picture sometimes.
Incredible sound.
You could hear every word. Nothing was unclear. Everything was so clear.
And futuristic new capabilities.
Imagine watching a show on cooking and being able to pull up the menu and print out the recipes from a printer connected to your television set.
To hear its promoters talk about it, digital television is nothing short of a broadcast revolution, as dramatic as the switch from black and white to color 34 years ago. The pictures are impressive. We can't show you on your current television screen, but a top-notch digital set can show programs up to 3 times more clearly.
Digital TV is just a new way of broadcasting signals to a TV set. Unlike the electromagnetic waves that your TV set is using now, digital TVs use ones and zeros, much like your computer or compact disc player.
And because traditional broadcasts take up more space than ones and zeros can, digital TV gives broadcasters a lot more room to play with.
We got the surround sound, the data casting.
Not all programmers will use the space for better sound and pictures. Some will use it to add new viewing options.
Let's check camera 4 here.
They might let you decide the best angle for viewing a baseball game, or find out more about topics that interest you. It could take years for digital TV to live up to its promise, but no one is promising that the quality of what you get
You press print now, I'll give a year of free oil change.
will improve it all. Gina Smith, ABC News, New York.
So what are the chances that HD TV will live up to the lofty promises? There are plenty of roadblocks in the way, not the least of which is the fact that there are only a tiny number of sets now used in the United States. Here's ABC's John Martin.
Very few Americans own HDTV sets, and even if they get them, there isn't much to see just yet. True, CBS will show some football games, and ABC is about to show movies like 101 Dalmatians.
Still, the problem goes beyond programming. It's a matter of financial risk. Even though the technology is here, a lot of people in the industry aren't certain it will really catch on.
One reason is price. New HD TV sets can cost up to $10,000.
The number of these that are going to be sold, I don't think is going to go flying out the door yet. My concern is that if I go with this, it's really expensive. If I go with that, it's a lot cheaper.
So does it make sense for a consumer to buy an expensive set when there's not much to see?
Well, this is a chicken and egg scenario. When does the programming come versus when is the product available?
But it's more than just product. One company, Sinclair Broadcasting, owns nearly 60 stations and says it is unwilling to invest in transmission equipment until the sets are perfected.
I think that we're faced with the potential of a great train wreck when this service gets into the hands of the public.
Sinclair technicians insist screens on the new sets will go blank if rooftop antennas are not perfectly lined up with the signal. There's a dispute. This kind of debate causes one former FCC chairman to denounce the broadcasters.
Most of them are waiting for somebody else to take the lead, somebody else to take the risk, somebody else to make the investment, somebody else to develop the business model. So we got a lot of followers and hardly any leaders.
But even those who do lead are not sure the cable industry will carry their new signals. So it's a big risk.
The capital expenditures for this endeavor are daunting and will continue to be.
Daunting, too, for consumers who wonder where to put their money. If industry doesn't make the system work well and soon, said one analyst, HD TV will probably fizzle. John Martin, ABC News, Washington.
We'll be back in just a moment. Just a brief review of the top story. Everybody's top story, of course. John Glenn, he and his 6 colleagues on the shuttle Discovery took off from Cape Canaveral today, and they are now in orbit. Senator Glenn says he is enjoying the show, which obviously means the view of Earth from space, and he feels fine. The launch was not absolutely perfect. A door apparently fell off a compartment that carries the shuttle's drag chute used during landings, but NASA says it won't have any impact. That is our report on World News Tonight. Don't forget Nightline later. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good evening. Good night.